ọ̀mọ̀sà òjìyọ lọ́bẹ̀. Àjànàkú kọjá mo rí nǹkan fìrí tá a bá rẹ́rìn ká sọ pé a rẹ́rìn. Solocard Multiventures Limited ilé ọ̀rẹ́ àgbẹ̀ ni mò ń sọ níbi káta ojúlówó kẹ́míkà àti fataláísà tí kìí ṣe yèèpẹ̀. Ọ̀rẹ́ mi sọnù kí owó bá sọnù.
Ìwé kíkọ láìsí ọkọ́ àti àdá kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ níṣẹ́ ilẹ̀ wa, ẹni kò ṣiṣẹ́ á máa jalè. Ìwé kíkọ láìsí ọkọ́ àti àdá kò ì pẹ́ o, kò ì pẹ́ o. Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ níṣẹ́ ilẹ̀ wa, ẹni kò ṣiṣẹ́ á máa jalè.
To this episode of the program, Solocard TV. Like you always know, I'm being a regular host. My name is Mark Oluwafemi, and I used to call myself the farm boy because everything I do is always about the farm. So I want to welcome you to today's episode of the program, talking about farm matters. As our usual practice over the episodes we've had before, we've been talking about farm. Our major target is how to help our farmers to actually make good results, to achieve good yield, and also to smile back home. Because like I always say again, when our farmers are happy, we are happy at Solocard Multiventures Limited. We are not just here to make money from our farmers, but we are here to let our farmers understand the fact that every kobo should count for them, and everything they are buying, spending their money on, they will always make profit from it. We still also want our viewers to know that agriculture is business, not an adventure. If you understand the agribusiness of agriculture, you will smile back home. But if you don't understand agribusiness, there will be a challenge. So we are at Solocard Multiventures Limited. We want every of our farmers, every of our friends, and everybody out there watching each of our episodes to understand the fact that they could actually do the agricultural business and make money. Like we said in 2 of our episodes back, agriculture has gone beyond the conventional way. It is business now, and it is very profitable. And I will put it to you today again. If every person in this world will eat something from a farmer every day, you can imagine it. We have over 140 billion persons working on agricultural foods. What I mean working on agricultural foods is every day you will take something that comes from a farm. So if that 140 billion person touch agricultural products, and each of them is giving you one naira in Nigerian currency, or each of them is giving you 100 cents outside the country, you can imagine how much you'll be making every day, how much you'll be making every week, and how much you should be making every month. So give me the reason why farmers should not be billionaires all over the world. And these are some of the facts we want our farmers to understand and how to start harnessing these resources together. Looking at it, everybody knows, especially for Nigerians, the crude oil is failing. Agriculture is taking over the lead. Let me surprise you. Even the president last week said that he knows that the future of this country is in agriculture, and he wants everybody to embrace agriculture. And if you're a farmer now and you're not doing it well, by the time all those billions comes, you will not be able to receive it because you are not prepared. So we want to equip our farmers with adequate information on how to go about it to make profit so that they can actually receive those billions when they come. And that's why we are here at Solocard TV, to enlighten you in our own little way, getting knowledge and sharing that abroad to all our farmers so they can actually make profit. So today on our episode we'll be talking about land preparation part 2. But we'll be giving a recap of what we've talked about before in all our episodes. If you remember the episode we started with, talk about land clearing, how we can clear your land, the machines you're going to use to clear the land, and the likes like that. If you get a particular land, the vegetation of the land will determine the best way to go about the clearing as much. Because some persons just believe that once you get a new land, you need to get the bulldozers to come and clear or whatever, not knowing they are damaging the land alongside. We dwell so much about that in our fourth episode. And on the second episode, we talk about land preparation. Part of the land preparation we talked about then, which was the part one of land preparation, we talked about after clearing your land, tilling the soil. And we talked about why you need to till your soil, what you tend to achieve by tilling the soil, the machines you need to use to till your soil, and how to go about them. That's what we talk about plowing, we talk about harrowing, we talk about rotavating, and the likes in the last episode. We talk about even using a ridger, depending on the kind of crop you want to cultivate. Those are the things we talk about. We have to shed more light on why you need to do it, how you need to do it, and how effective it should be, so they can actually achieve that same result. Because we know that if machines are used on the farm and not properly used, you would think you're helping the soil, but you're actually destroying the soil. Thereby, the profit you need to make on that land for the next 24 months is already taken away. So this is some of the things we want our farmers to know and how to go about it effectively. And in our last episode, we talked about one of the episodes we talked about seed selection for dry season and for rainy season. Why you need to select a particular seed, and we actually showed some samples of seed, talking about tomato at the other time, and in that episode, I will shed more light about that on the kind of seed you should use for each of the season and why you need to use them. Because most of these seeds have resistance to certain things that is peculiar to rainy season, that is not in dry season, and some that are peculiar to dry season, that is not in rainy season. And that's what we do. And our last episode, we talked about raising proper nursery. Now, to the crops, to those that are doing vegetables, and they need to raise nursery, we dwell so much about raising a proper nursery. How you need to do your nursery. I will give a very good example of you having a newborn baby and the baby is well fed. You will see the result and the growth of the baby. But a baby that is not well fed from the early stage, you will also see when the baby is growing. So the same thing is likening to our crops. If you could do a proper nursery, that is the preliminary stage for your plants. Because whatever yield you are expecting, if you don't do it well from the beginning, I tell you, you're already losing 40% of the yield. So for you to have at least 90% of the yield in your farm, you need to take care of your plant from the early stage. Those are to the crops that need to be raised in nurseries. But to the other ones that are not meant to be raised in nursery, we'll still talk about some of them, how well you can best plant them, that they will naturally fail you. Talking about planting your maize, majorly, talking about planting your soya beans, to those that are talking about planting your sorghum, your millets, talking about planting your cassava, talking about other tree crops that we mentioned in the time past. We talk about cashew, we talk about cocoa, we talk about oil palm, and so many things like that. We will still go back to all those ones because we're taking an episode. But we want to bring it to your notice that these are some of the things we've done. That's why we're giving a recap today. This is what we've done past. So that you can actually send in your questions to those that missed actually one any of the videos. You can go back to our page and watch the videos. And if you have questions, always drop the question. Because in our next episode, what we'll be doing firstly is we're going to be treating your questions. You drop your questions, you drop your any challenge you think you have in your farm. We will treat it generally for every other person to also benefit from it. Because whatever I think you're experiencing in your farm might be peculiar to another person's farm. But the person will not have a medium of asking. But when you ask a question, when we treat it, it also helps other people to also learn and to also do it right. So today we'll be talking about land preparation part 2. In our last episode, we talked about raising proper nursery, and we assume and we believe we've raised the nursery. At the moment that the nursery is actually growing. But before the nursery is ready for transplanting, you need to have your field ready for planting. Now, first of all, in one of our episodes also, we talked about irrigation. I remember that. We talked about irrigation. And land preparation part 2, we're going to talk about, okay, fine, after raising your nursery, we assume on our nursery stage, we've raised nursery for tomatoes, we raised nursery for pepper, and what have you. When I mean pepper, we have the bell pepper, we have the habanero, we have some other peppers like that too. So we have some other ones like that. So now, having said that, the nurseries are raised. You're doing fine at the nursery stage. And I remember in the last episode, we mentioned how to water your nursery. You use a knapsack sprayer to water the nursery so that you don't exhume the seed. If you decide to use the watering can, you might actually destroy the nursery because it will actually throw off the plants because they are very tender, succulent, so the jet of water that is thrown on the tree will actually take them off. So it is good to use your knapsack sprayer to water it. Then it is required to use foliar fertilizer to spray the plant weekly in order to help the plant to actually grow very well. Those are some of the things we need to put into consideration. And also, your nursery environment needs to be well taken care of, such a way that pest does not destroy the nursery for you. Because we have experienced, we've heard from different farmers that the nursery was growing very well, such that cutworms just came, cut the plant off, and they lost the whole nursery. We have some people, some farmers will say, fine, we planted the nursery, when they were growing, lizards came in there and ate up the whole nursery. So there are so many challenges that we face, that so many farmers have faced in the farm, even which we've experienced them in the time past, and we've decided to find, we need to bring it to your notice. Number one, wherever you're keeping your nursery, needs to be a confined environment, well controlled. Not like it has to be in a sealed room, but it has to be in a well aerated room, perhaps fenced around with nets. Thereby, crawling plants, crawling animals does not go in, like lizard, like some other crawling this thing on the farm. We don't go in there to cut it. And also, the environment is taken care of with your pesticide. Thereby, it will repel those pests away from coming to attack your nursery, because you know those nurseries are very, very tender, and any small stress on them, they will go off. So, this is some of the things we want you to understand, so that you don't lose your nursery. Most of the vegetable seeds you are purchasing in the market are quite expensive now. Well, it's not the fact that it's the producer that are trying to increase the price, but it's just the situation of the country. But nevertheless, any amount you actually buy your nursery, your seeds rather, it will be good you do it properly, so that those seeds can actually count. So talking about your land preparation now, if you are growing tomato, for instance, most persons would believe after plowing their land, they could just harrow it and plant the tomato on the flat land. Yes, tomato will grow on the flat land. Well, it is really, really doable in dry season. You can do that in dry season. We've done installation on several farms for tomato planting and it's on the flat land. But when you're doing in rainy season, please take note. Flat lands will not, in most cases, be suitable, depending on your soil type, depending on the topography of your farm. These are the conditions you need to put in place. I will repeat. Depending on your topography of the farm and depending on the soil type you have on your farm. But if you actually have a good soil type like loamy soil, sandy loam, those are very okay. You can actually do them on flat land that is not relatively slopey. It could be relatively flat, you can actually do that. But in rain season, you won't try that, because the rain will wash it off. But in dry season, you can actually do it on flat land. But if your land is slopey, flat land will not be advisable. The reason is this: the wind will blow off the soil at the base of the plant gradually, and over the time, by the time they start doing weeding around the plant, some of the soil that has been aggregated to sustain, to keep the plants firm, will be removed, and any heavy wind will fall your plants down. Let me put it to you today to know, to tomato farmers, pepper farmers, if you don't have beds when you transplant your tomato, you realize that after every weeding, go around your farm, you will see few stands of the tomato dying off. The thing is this: tomato root is very succulent. When exposed to direct sunlight, it will dry up from the root. So most of the time, suppose there's weeds on my farm, and they just finished weeding the farm is clean. Why is my tomato dying? The question is this: did you find out those ones that died, what happened to them from the root? So many persons will think it's weed, it's bacterial weed, it's Fusarium weed. No, the thing is, find out what the root expires first. I visited a farm some time ago, and the tomato are dying. We went there, and I realized the fact that there's no disease on the farm at all. By the time they did weeding, the hoe they used in weeding actually cut some of the roots of the tomato, because there was no aggregated soil to the base, and exposed the root of the tomato. So when the direct sunlight came, it just dried the root off, and the plant died. Now the way tomato will die will just seem like it's wilt, like bacterial wilt or Fusarium wilt, as the case may be. And that's how most persons think, bacterial wilt is on my farm. We say, There are certain things you need to check out. These are some of the things you need to put in place. Ensure when they are weeding, you have enough soil aggregated to the base of the tomato, sustaining the tomato. Thereby, when they are weeding, the hoe does not get to the root of the tomato. Because most of these vegetable crops, they are shallow-rooted plants. Their root does not go too deep. They spread over the surface. When you aggregate soil for them, they have good rooms to spread, and direct sunlight does not really hit them as much. So this is some of the things we want you to know, because you might think it's wilt, but find out it might not be wilt. Now, to pepper farmers, same thing is applicable. People that are doing cabbage, lettuce, and what have you, bell peppers, broccoli. People are doing what have you, all vegetables generally. These are some things you need to look into. But there are some vegetables that will actually need the bed, except the soil is well pulverized. When I mean pulverized, well broken down. To those that have rotavators, which is not common, is a mechanical tool, is a tool on the farm that they're using, breaking down the clogs in the soil after plowing. But rotavator is not that common. But to those that have rotavator, after rotavating your field, you can plant your cabbage, you can plant your lettuce, you can plant your leafy vegetables. Talk about the green spinach, talk about the amaranthus, talk about the celosia and the likes like that. You can plant them directly like that. You don't need to raise bed because the ground has been well broken down using a rotavator. But if you don't have that, it will be advised that you aggregate soils together like a small, long, continuous bed to help this plant to actually stay very well. So these are some of the things we want our farmers to know on how to go about them, because there are so many things that you are actually buying chemical for. They don't need chemicals. They are just normal things that you need to look forward to in your farm to put together. Because you might think your farm is dying. You need chemical. What can I use? My farm is going to buy this one. Your profit is actually going down by the number of things you buy. And I'll always say, at Solocal Multiventures Limited, we are selling all these products. But we are not just selling it so you can always come and buy. We want you to use it effectively. We don't want you to buy what you don't need to buy, so that you can actually have more money to do more. And like I said, when you're happy, we at Solocal Multiventures, we are also happy. And that's why we want to let all our farmers to know how they have to do it right, so they don't waste their money. So other crops that we're talking about, that you don't actually need nursery, how do you actually prepare your bed, prepare the farm? Beds are actually required to help the plant to sustain. It is like you are building a building. If you do a proper foundation for that building, the building cannot be sustained. I'm sure you've heard about news of so many buildings collapsing and the like that. Not that they are not properly raised. There's a particular error in the construction. Likewise to agriculture too. There's a particular error in that your farm that's having problem today that you don't know. Everything is not chemical. Everything is not pesticide. Everything is not fungicide. A particular area that you didn't take care of is one attacking the farm today. If you can actually pay attention to those things and do them right, you might not have any challenge in your farm again. And that's why as Solocal Multiventures Limited, we want you to know that there are certain small things we don't pay attention to that has a long way to go. If you are growing cucumber, it will be advised to raise bed for your cucumber, because cucumber root does not travel too deep. Maximum 10 cm into the ground. But over the surface, it can travel 10 cm over the surface, 20 cm over the surface. So that's what you need to look into. So when you understand this concept, when you raise bed for a cucumber, you know that cucumber is well protected. Number one, the root is not attacked even when you are doing your weeding. The sunlight does not actually have to hit the root too deep when the plant has grown so well, because if you've grown cucumber before, so cucumber farmers in the house there, you know cucumber always form shade over its roots, thereby shielding the sunlight from hitting the root too hard, and thereby what? Reducing evaporation rate at the root zones. These are some of the things you need to understand. And if you can do it properly well, your plant will be well sustained. When your plant is well sustained, the stem itself will grow very well, and each of the nodes of your cucumber will give you fruits. We will get to these crops, we talk much about them, because let me amaze you. Do you know that one stand of cucumber, one seed of cucumber that you plant and it germinates can give you 20 cucumber fruits? For cucumber farmers, I'm sure you're calculating now. If each time you give 20 cucumber fruits, over 2,000 stand, over 40,000 stand on an hectare, you know how much you're making. But how many of you are you getting 20 cucumbers from a cucumber stand? Because you're not doing it right. And that's just the truth. On an hectare of cucumber, at least minimum, you should get about 1,000 bags. How many of you have gotten 1,000 bags from an hectare? I know a lot of persons that have gotten much more than 1,000 bags on an hectare. It is doable. I have done it before. I have done an hectare before and I got 670 bags. The recent 1 hectare of cucumber I did, I got 972 bags. Though it was poor, but it was still appreciable, because to everybody around me was thinking, wow, this harvest is crazy. But in my head, I was actually looking for 1,500 bags. What am I trying to say? You can actually do it if you understand the concept that each of these crops needs. So every of our episodes, we'll pick each of these crops, telling you the details and things you need to put in place to do each of these crops properly and to get the maximum return. But today, we'll be dwelling on the land preparation. Like I have said earlier, all your land preparation needs to be well done. And please take note, when you are raising your bed on your field, it has to be against the slope, to the lands that are extremely slopey, because else you'll be leaching your soil without knowing. And then if you find out that the farm is not doing well and there's no nutrient, there's this one, the farmer they are turning pale yellow, you apply this one, it's not working. These are some of the conditions you need to put in place. When you're doing your bed in a direction of slope, you might think there's no rain. If it's very steepy, there might not be rain truly. But when wind is blowing every day, it's actually blowing something away from your farm. Leaching is not only caused by water, it could also be affected by heavy breeze, depending on your environment. You might be in an environment that there's always heavy breeze, there's always brainstorm, but you might be in an environment that there's no breeze at all, that will actually take things out. We need to look into these conditions too, to do our land preparation. So please, we are urging all our farmers, pay attention to details of any kind of crop you want to grow. Because let me tell you today, if you can focus on a particular crop and do it well, the profit you make from that crop will be much more than you doing 10 crops on your farm at once. Please pay attention to this and pay attention to details to do it well. Once again, my name is Mark Oluwafemi for Solocal Multiventures Limited. Thank you for staying tuned today. In our next episode, we'll throw more light on some other things. But we are waiting for your comments. We need your questions, we need your feedback, so we can actually serve you more better. We are here to stay. We're here to provide solutions to you, because I'm sitting here because of you, not because of me. And I'm saying all these things is just to help you. We are sharing ideas. Whatever you think you're experiencing in the field, let us know. We might have a solution to it. Even if we don't have, we might have people that have solutions to those things, and we can provide solutions to the betterment and to the good use of your farm. Once again, I want to say thank you very much for staying tuned today, and we'll see you in our next episode. My name is Mark Oluwafemi for Solocal TV.
Bàbá Sídí, ọ̀rẹ́ mi, níbi táyé lajú dé yìí ló tún roko àrògbá kìnkìn.
Wọ́n rò ó ti sú mi, mo ti fi kó tó ẹ̀mẹ́ta lọ́dún
yìí. Níbo ló ti wá ra kẹ́míkà tiẹ̀?
A ní lọ́dọ̀ àwọn tí wọ́n máa ń to kẹ́míkà sí ẹ̀gbẹ́ títì ibẹ̀ mo rà.
Ọmọ ṣe o, àgbárí bíjà tòtò kí o tò.
Kàṣà.
Sórí, o ò tí gbọ́n pa sólókàdì ní tiẹ̀. Sólókàdì nìkan ní ta ojúlówó kẹ́míkà. Tó o bá dọ́dọ̀ rẹ̀ kò sírú kẹ́míkà tó wá tó rí. Kí ni jẹ́ èpò níwájú kẹ́míkà sólókàdì?
Ṣé lóòótọ́? Ṣé lóòótọ́?
Òótọ́ ni mo sọ fún ọ. Wo, má jẹ́ àlọ́.
Mo rí gbogbo rẹ.
Kẹ́míkà sólókàdì.
Sólókàdì.
Bẹ́ẹ̀. Kẹ́míkà sólókàdì, kẹ́míkà tó dáa ni.
Sólókàdì.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Kẹ́míkà sólókàdì.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Dákun ọ̀rẹ́ mi. Níbo ni iléeṣẹ́ wọn wà bí ṣọ́ọ̀bù wọn níbi tí wọ́n ti ń ta tèmi náà ti lè ra?
Amúnigun Ògùnpa náà ni.
Ògùnpa ń bẹ̀rù.
Nọ́mbà 57.
Nọ́mbà 57.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni.
Amúnigun Ògùnpa.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. Tọ́ ọ bá ti débẹ̀ ó ti rí ilé wọn báyìí. Wọ́n kàn wọ ọbẹ̀ lọ mú yìí tó wọ̀ ọ́.
Ọ̀rẹ́ mi.
Àgbẹ̀ ti di rọrùn.
Tèmi ti dá lọ́dún yìí. Ṣé ọ lọ ọ̀rẹ́?